Good day, ma'am. Good day, everyone. I am Jala Francisco Abrique, and I will be discussing the part 4 of our topic, which is all about the chapter 1 or the introduction to cognitive psychology. First, our topic outline. We'll discuss about self-reports, case studies, and naturalistic observations. Second, computer simulations and artificial intelligence. Third one, putting it all together. Fourth one, fundamental ideas in cognitive psychology. And the last one are the key themes in cognitive psychology. Next one, our intended learning outcomes. At the end of this discussion, the students should be able to perceive self-reports, case studies, and naturalistic observations. Then they should understand the fundamental ideas in cognitive psychology. And the last one, they should be able to apprehend the key themes in cognitive psychology. So first, self-reports, case studies, and naturalistic observation. Self-reports, case studies, and naturalistic observation are used by researchers to obtain richly textured information about how particular individuals think in a broad range of contexts. First, self-reports. It refers to an individual's own account of cognitive process where a statement of or series of answers to questions that an individual provides are about his or her state, feelings, thoughts, beliefs, past behaviors, and so forth. Examples of self-reports are questionnaires and interviews. Self-reports have validity problems. Second one, case studies. Case studies are in-depth studies of individuals. Multiple types of data such as psychological, physiological, biographical, and environmental are assembled. For example, data are assembled to understand an individual's background, relationships, and behavior. And the third one, naturalistic observations. These are detailed studies of cognitive performance in everyday situations and non-laboratory contexts without laboratory controls or manipulation of variables. For example, a developmental psychologist observes children who are playing. Experimental research is most useful for testing hypotheses, while for formulation of hypothesis naman, research based on self-reports, case studies, and naturalistic observation are particularly useful. These three methods are also useful to generate descriptions of rare events or processes that we have no other way to measure. In the case of Ginny, who was locked in a room until the age of 13, and in the case of Phineas, case study methods was used to collect informations. So, sino nga ba si Jenny at si Phineas? Si Ginny ay isang babae na nilak ng kanyang ama sa room until age 13. At siya ay nagkaroon ng limitadong social and sensory experiences. Bilang resulta, Jenny had severe physical impairments and no language skills. On the other hand, si Phineas Gage naman ay isa sa mga pinaka-famous na pasyente sa neuroscience. Bakit? Because he experienced a traumatic brain injury when an iron rod was driven into his entire skull, as you can see sa picture, destroying much of his frontal lobe. He survived, pero ang kanyang personality and behavior ay nagbago. Sabi ng kanyang friends, he was an almost different person. So there are two reasons that a participant may misreport information about his or her cognitive processes. First is the intentional misreports. May involve trying to edit out unflattering information. Second, unintentional misreports. It may involve not understanding the question or not remembering the information accurately. Recollected information such as diaries, retrospective accounts, questionnaires, and surveys are less reliable than reports provided during the cognitive processing under investigation. Verbal protocol where a participant describes aloud all their thoughts and ideas during the performance of a given cognitive task. It is often used by researchers in complex cognitive processes such as in problem solving and decision making. For example, in decision making, I like the apartment with a swimming pool better, but I can't really afford it, so I might have to choose the one without the swimming pool. Reporting specific information regarding a particular aspect of cognition process is an alternative to verbal protocol. So, ecological validity. It refers to the degree to which particular findings in one environment context may be considered relevant outside of that context, or it refers to the degree to which results obtained from research or experimentation are representative of conditions in the wider world. So we know naman that ecology is the study of interactive relationship between an organism and its environment. So kumbaga, ecological validity examines whether the result of a study can be generalized into the real-life setting. For example, psychological research carried out exclusively among university students might have a low ecological validity when applied to the population as a whole. So, case study and naturalistic observations has high ecological validity. And now let's tackle about computer simulation and artificial intelligence. So, digital computers has indirect and direct influence in the emergence of the study of cognitive psychology. Influence is indirect through models of human cognition based on models of how computers process information. On the other hand, it is a direct influence through computer simulations and artificial intelligence. So, in cognitive psychology, computer simulations refers to a technique in which a model of cognitive processes is implemented as a computer program. Researchers program computers to imitate a given human function or process. This technique is generally used to investigate specific theories of cognitive processing rather than to explore the more general issues that are the province of artificial intelligence. So, artificial intelligence is a subdiscipline of computer science that aims to produce programs that stimulate human intelligence. For example, in a computer program that plays chess, there are two ways to conceptualize the game. First is the brute force or kind of artificial intelligence which you can see in the picture, where a researcher constructs an algorithm that considers extremely large number of moves in a very short time. Nakita niyo sa picture, marami siyang moves na pwedeng gawin. Second, the simulation that looks at how chess grandmasters solve chess problems and then seek to function the way they do. So, for example, that robot in the picture is a chess grandmaster. It is possible to combine the two approaches. Simulates human performance. It can simulate human performance but can use brute force as necessary to win games. And now let's tackle about putting it all together. So, cognitive science is a cross-disciplinary field that uses ideas and methods from cognitive psychology, psychobiology, artificial intelligence, philosophy, linguistics, and anthropology. Cognitive psychologists also nag-profit sila from collaborations with other kinds of psychologists such as social psychologists, engineering psychologists, and clinical psychologists. Also, there is a close exchange and collaboration with other related fields such as psychiatrists, anthropologists, computer specialists, and traffic planners. And now let us tackle about the fundamental ideas in cognitive psychology. So there are 5 fundamental ideas of cognitive psychology that cross-cut some of the key themes listed at the end of this chapter. So first, empirical data and theories are both important. Data in cognitive psychology can be fully understood only, maintindihan lamang siya, in the context of an explanatory theory. And theories are empty without empirical data. So, ang theories ang nagbibigay ng meaning sa data. A theory without a data is empty. An empirical generalization does not, in the absence of an underlying theory, an empirical generalization does not provide an explanation. So prediction is also an important goal of science. So theory assists both in explanation, theory assists in both explanation and prediction. Theories generate data collections, which help correct theories, which then lead to further data collections, and so forth. Second one, cognition is generally adaptive, but not in all specific instances. So we can perceive, learn, remember, reason, and solve problems with great accuracy even we are distracted. So our memories and reasoning process, pwede silang pumalya. For example, sometimes we tend to overvalue information that is easily available to us, kahit na yung information na yun is not relevant naman sa pinag-uusapan. So that is number 2, cognition is adaptive but not in all specific instances. Third one, cognitive processes interact with each other and with non-cognitive processes or non-mental processes. So for example, you learn better when you are motivated to learn. Mental processes depend on perceptual processes. So what is perceptual processes? Perceptual processes is a sequence of steps that begins when our sensory receptors, such as our eyes, ears, tongue, nose, and skin, come into contact with sensory stimuli such as sight, sound, taste, odors, and textiles around us. For example, in one study, the consumers were blindfolded and asked to drink a new brand of beer. Sabi nila, regular beer lang daw ang taste nung blindfolded sila. But when the blindfolds came out, sabi naman nila, watery tasting na daw ang beer. So what you remember depends in part on what you perceive. Research shows that cognitive processes can affect biological structures just as biological structures can affect cognitive process. The cognitive system works in interaction with other systems. Fourth one, cognition needs to be studied through a variety of scientific methods. So there is no right way to study cognition. The higher the confidence one can have in the conclusion, if there are more different kinds of techniques that lead to the same conclusion. So pag maraming techniques that lead to the same conclusion, mas mataas yung confidence, the higher the confidence one can have. Fifth, all basic research in cognitive psychology may lead to applications, and all applied research may lead to basic understanding. So what is a basic research? So basic research is a research approach that is entirely theoretical and aimed at improving or expanding the knowledge base of a particular field of study, while applied research is designed to focus on providing practical solutions to a specific problem. So applied research is for practical solutions for specific problem, while basic research naman is knowledge base of a particular field of study. So our fifth fundamental idea says that basic research lead to applications, and applied research may lead to basic understanding. So kumbaga parang nabaliktad siya. Kasi yung basic research, applications na dapat nasa knowledge base yun siya, and applied research na dapat providing practical solutions to a specific problem. So, but the truth is, the distinction between basic and applied research is often not clear at all. Research that seems like it will be basic, parang pag basic research, often leads to immediate applications. Similarly, research that seems like it will be applied sometimes leads quickly to basic understandings. So, for example, a basic finding from research on memory is that learning is superior when it is spaced out over time rather than crammed into a short time interval. So this basic finding has an immediate application to study strategies. Sabi ng research, sabi niya daw, mas superior daw yung memory if it is spaced out over time rather than ginakram natin. Now let's move on. Let's tackle about the key themes in cognitive psychology. So each of the topic on these texts can be examined through the 7 major themes in cognitive psychology. First, nature versus nurture. That is very familiar to us. So nature refers to the biological or genetic predispositions, while nurture naman refers to the influence of learning and other influences from one's environment. So let's have the thesis and antithesis. So thesis refers to an idea subjected to analysis or an idea put forward for argumentation, while antithesis naman is an idea or proposition that is an opposite or contradicts the another. So thesis and antithesis for nature versus nurture, which is more influential in human cognition, nature ba or nurture? So synthesis, it resolves the opposition between the thesis and antithesis. So, synthesis, we can explore how cooperations and interactions in the environment, for example, an impoverished environment, adversely affects someone whose genes otherwise might have led to success in a variety of tasks. So, second one, rationalism versus empiricism. So, rationalism argues that knowledge is acquired through logical analysis, while empiricism is acquisition of knowledge through experience and observation. So, thesis and antithesis. How should we discover the truth about ourselves and about the world around us? Should we do so by trying to reason logically, based on what we already know? Or should we do so by observing and testing our observations of what we can perceive through our senses? So, synthesis. We can combine theory with empirical methods to learn the most we can about cognitive phenomena. Third one, structures versus processes. So, thesis and antithesis. Should we study the structure, the contents, attributes, and products of the human mind? Or should we focus on the processes of human thinking? Synthesis. We can explore how mental processes operate on mental structures. Fourth one, domain generality versus domain specificity. So, thesis and antithesis. Are the processes we observe limited to single domains, or are they general across a variety of domains? Do observations in one domain applies also to all domains, or they all apply only to the specific domain observed? Synthesis. We can explore which processes might be domain general and which might be domain specific. So the fifth one, validity of causal interferences versus ecological validity. So thesis or antithesis, should we study cognition by using highly controlled experiments that increase the probability of valid interference regarding causality? Or should we use more naturalistic techniques, which increase the likelihood of obtaining ecological valid findings but possibly at the expense of experimental control? So, synthesis. we can combine a variety of methods, including laboratory methods and more naturalistic ones, so as to converge on findings that hold up regardless of the method of study. 6.1. Applied versus basic research. Applied research is designed to focus on providing practical solutions to a specific problem, while basic research is a research approach naman and it is entirely theoretical and aimed at improving or expanding knowledge base of a particular field of study. So, thesis or antithesis. Should we conduct research into fundamental cognitive processes? Or should we study ways in which to help people use cognition effectively in practical situations? Synthesis. We can combine the two kinds of research into research dialectically, so that basic research leads to applied research, which leads to further basic research, and so on. 7, and the last one, biological versus behavioral methods. So the biological approach assumes that all behavior is driven by genetics and the person's biological or chemical composition, while behavioral approach assumes that our behavior is a product of our interaction with the environment. So, thesis and antithesis. Should we study the brain and its functioning directly, perhaps even scanning the brain while people are performing cognitive tasks? Or should we study people's behavior in cognitive tasks, looking at measures such as percent correct and reaction time? So, synthesis. We can try to synthesize biological and behavioral methods so that we understand cognitive phenomena at multiple levels of analysis.